Welcome to the podcast, Let the Prophet Speak. Today we continue our study of the very, very challenging, difficult, and painful book, the book of Lamentations, the Sefer Eichah, and we are about to study chapter 3. We have noted that according to tradition, chapters 1, 2, and 4 were written in the original book of Eichah by Yirmiyahu, and which was in response to a prophecy in which God told him to write down, the way we interpreted it here in this podcast was write down the consequences, the ultimate consequences of the people continuing their behavior. So Yirmiyahu, so to speak, wrote a lamentation over the destruction that was going to occur and painted a terrible picture in an attempt to turn the people around. That was chapters 1, 2, and 4. And we pointed out that chapter 1, Yirmiyahu was focusing primarily on the false hope that people put in their military and political strength, the size of the nation and the power of the nation, and in its alliances, or its attempt to build alliances with other nations around them to protect them against threats from the outside. The second chapter, these were the key things that Yirmiyahu, in the book of Yirmiyahu, the book of Jeremiah, where he criticized the people for having faith in that. The second was their faith in the temple itself and in the religious leadership structure of the temple itself and the rituals of the temple itself. People had faith. There's no way we are going to, God will allow his temple to be destroyed, and if we just stay faithful to the temple, then we'll be saved. And Yirmiyahu demonstrated to them in chapter 2 the terrible destruction that would come to the temple itself, that the temple will not protect them if they don't change their ways. And what we're going to see in chapter 4 is is really the most horrible one of all, and that is the terrible suffering of the individuals, of the people themselves. And that is because the people thought of themselves as being righteous. They thought themselves as being innocent, and they did not want to change their ways. They justified their own way of life and thinking that they themselves could never be destroyed because they're great. They thought of themselves too much. It was the haughtiness of themselves that was torn down. Then, after presenting that vision to the king got angry at Yirmiyahu. All the false prophets of the time got angry at Jeremiah. The king burned the scroll to the crisp, and Yirmiyahu went back and rewrote the text that he had written before. But before he went on to chapter 4, when in his rewrite, he added this chapter that we're about to read. This is the tradition as recorded in the Chazal, significantly within the Midrashim and Medrash Eichah and in other places. This one, therefore, is a triple acrostic. The first and second chapters were an acrostic ABC, in other words, Aleph, Bet, Gimel. The fourth one is also Aleph, Bet, Gimel, with 22 verses, one for each letter of the Hebrew alphabet, the 22 letters. This chapter is 22 times 3. There's 3 for each. Roughly corresponding to the 3 chapters that he had written before, all those 3 of issues. The issue of the people's false hope because of their political power and alliances. The second, because of their false hope because of the temple saving them. And the third, because of their own righteousness. Why did he then interject this as a chapter 3 between 1, 2, and 4? That is unclear, but my theory, and it seems to be borne out when we read it together, and you'll decide if you agree with me or not as we read it together, is that before Yirmiyahu goes ahead and attacks the people themselves, he includes himself among the people. He includes himself and shows how much he is suffering and trying to help them, that he's not writing this book in order just because he likes to tell people about their destruction and he is somehow gloating over their destruction or something like that. He's a part of them. He's been suffering terribly himself. The people themselves have made him suffer terribly because of the message he's bringing them. And God, it's not like God has been super nice to Yirmiyahu. He's been telling him to bring this difficult message to the people, and Yirmiyahu's been thrown into a pit and been spit at and kicked and jailed and starved, and just in I recommend, if you haven't read the book of Yirmiyahu, to go back to my podcasts on Yirmiyahu and learn the story of his life. So here in chapter 3, Yirmiyahu is including himself among the people, talking about how he has a role to play. He's part of this, right? And I'm suffering too, and I've been suffering now, right? Because I know what's going to happen if we don't change our ways, right? I'm one of you, and I, and I'm trying to avert this disaster. I'm trying to stop suffering. So he interjects this before he goes on to the 4th chapter, where he talks about the supposed righteousness of the individuals, of the people themselves, that think they're okay. They think everything is good, but it's far from it. The corruption is just so deeply embedded in the people that they delude themselves into thinking that what's really bad is actually good. So here we will begin, of course, with the letter Aleph. Ani hagever ra'a ani. I, as a man, I am the guy who has seen suffering. B'shevet evraso. I have suffered from the staff of God's anger, his with the capital H. He has been leading me. God has been guiding me to give this message, right? But even though he's been guiding me and leading me, he's been guiding me through darkness, not through light. This hasn't been an easy message I've had to give. But even though I'm the one bearing this message, it's me that's suffering. Now, look at me. I'm the one that, the king is throwing into jail. I'm the one that the king is exiling, right, because of the message that I'm bringing. I'm the one that's suffering through this, right? Bila visori viori shibaratz mosai. He has worn out my flesh and my muscles. He has broken my bones, literally. Bana alai vayakaf rosh utla'ah. He has built around me. Instead of protecting walls, he has built around me and surrounded me with difficulty. Rosh here is probably from the word rush, which rather than a head, right? Rush meaning poverty, utla, and difficulty. He has made me live and dwell in the darkness like those that are dead for a long time. I'm dwelling in the depths of hell. Godar ba'adi, he has cordoned me off, right? I cannot get out of this jail he's put me in, right? He has weighed me down with heavy chains. Gamki ezak, even when I cry out to him, vashaveya, and I scream, sosam tefilasi, my prayers, he shuts them, he closes them up, he cordons them off, he doesn't listen to them. Godar dirachai bigozis, he blocks my path. I keep trying to accomplish things, but he blocks my success by blocking my path with bricks. Nesivosai iva, he twists my pathways. He twists my ways, and so that I get lost in these winding paths that lead nowhere. Dovo revuli, God has been to me like a bear that crouches in waiting. Ariba mistorim, it's like a lion that's hiding in the thicket. That's how God has been to me. No matter where I turn, something leaps out at me to make my job even more difficult, to make my life worse. Durachai sorer, he has pushed me off the way. I pick a path and I go on a path, and he turns it. He pushes me off. So even on this path I'm wandering on, the next thing I know, I'm off the path, and he's pushing me off to someplace else. Vayefashcheni somani shomeim, and he has messed me up. He's made me like a desolate and destroyed person. Dorach kashto, he drew his bow, vayatziveni, and he has set me up kimatarol achetz, like a target for his arrows. Hevi b'chiliosai b'nei ashpato, those things that come from his quiver. The b'nei ashpato are his arrows that come from his quiver. He has shot in through my organs. and through my kidneys. Hayisis chok l'chol ami. All my nation, they laugh at me. Nigina sam kol hayom. They make fun of me all day. Everyone's talking about that silly Jeremiah. Ha ha ha. Meanwhile, he's the one trying to bring the message of truth to the people. Hispiyani v'amromim hirvani la'ana. He has filled me up with the bitterness, with all the bitterness of life. He has hirvani. He has stuffed me with la'ana is rotten. Rotten wood. Vayagres bechatzotz shinoi hichbishani ba'efer. He has broken my teeth with ground up stones. Chatzotz are I guess I'm not sure if this is used in modern Hebrew, but it would be like crushed gravel, right? Like when you chew on something hard and it just ruins your teeth. Bishani va'efer. He has crushed me into ashes. Vatiznach mishalom nafshi nashisi tova. The peace and I'm forgetting a word I wanted to use for peace, but peace and tranquility, right, has left my soul. Nashisi tova. I have forgotten what it means to have joy, to have goodness in my life. V'omar avad nitzchi, and I said, avad nitzchi, my hope for the future is lost. V'tochalti me Adonai, and all of my the tochalti, the things that I've been looking forward to, are now lost from God. Zechar aniyu merudi la'anav arosh. Right? Remember, now he turns to, so he talks about the suffering that he's been going through in life, but now he turns a little. Remember, this is a time when Yirmiyahu still holds on to the hope that things will get better, the people will turn around, the nation will turn around, a disaster will be averted. The purpose of going through this is in order to get the message through. So he turns to God and says, remember my suffering and my lowliness and how downtrodden I am, and the la'ana, the rotten wood I've been suffering with, and the rosh here, meaning the sour suffering that I've been administered. Zachor tiskar, remember God, remember v'sashoach alai nafshi, and remember that. I'm sorry, I got tripped up for a second there. Remember, v'sashoach alai nafshi, and my soul will be bent low, or will be humbled. The point here being in this verse, I'm at verse 20, is Yirmiyahu is saying, from the suffering that I've had, I've learned humility. So it's not completely lost, right? There is something to have been learned and have been gained from the suffering. I've learned humility. I've learned, had I gotten up and made announcements and everybody listened to me and rode me on the backs of horses in the streets and announced and proclaimed my message, and everyone would have, then that would have been haughty. That would have made me proud. But for me, I remember what I went through. I remember my attempts at delivering this message that I devoted my entire life to, and it humbles me. It makes me realize that my soul is bent, that I'm not the greatest. I try, I do my best. It just drove him to do more. It drove him to work harder. Zos ashiv elibi. This is what I think about. I think about my humility, al kain ochil, and this is why I have hope. This is so remarkably strong of a statement here. I just want you to stop for a moment and think about this. Instead of being broken by his suffering, instead of being crushed by his lack of apparent success, Yirmiyahu saw this and realized through his humility that he has a mission in life and that there is hope, that no matter how low he gets, and this is something we have to think about when we look at the world around us and we see how low we are sinking, and we see how difficult things are, and we see we can talk to our friends, we can have discussions, we can try to take political action to correct the things that are going wrong in the world. Try to convince others, however we're doing it, social media or whatever, trying to teach others to follow the right path because of oncoming destruction and oncoming suffering and suffering that's occurring today. We try to fix it, right? We become humbled. We become crushed because instead of things getting better, they seem to be getting worse. But this is exactly the kernel of hope that we need to find. This is the kernel of hope that Yirmiyahu found in all of this. The kernel of hope that it's my very humility. If I was arrogant and I thought I knew everything and I thought I had all the solutions, that would be the end of progress. That would make it impossible for me to really move the world forward. It's my very humility. It's my realization how small I am that allows me the ability to correct myself when I'm wrong. It allows me the ability to see things as they are as opposed to how I want them to be. It allows me the ability to continue on my path. It's the very humility that gives Yirmiyahu hope. Zo sashiv libi, I'm repeating it again, verse 21, al keino chil. This is what I think about, and this is why I hope. And then he turns, once he realizes this, he realizes how wonderful it is that he's had this life that gave him this opportunity, the opportunity to have a life of meaning and purpose. The words of Yirmiyahu still ring strong, still inspire and teach us about resilience, teach us about never giving up, teach us about humility, teaching us about how important it is for us, no matter what the situation is around us, to continuously work towards the better good. Yirmiyahu, thousands of years later, we're studying and reading his words because he never gave up despite all of the suffering that he had. And therefore he realizes how wonderful it is that I've had this terrible experience that I just described. The kindnesses of God, they never ever stop. God's mercy never ends. Chadoshim la bikarim rabba munasecha. They become renewed every morning, on each and every morning. Rabba munasecha, how great it is to have your trustworthiness. We say that term, of course, shows up in the Modeh Ani, the prayer we say in the morning with first words out of our mouths when we wake up. Modani lefanecha, melachai v'kayam shechazarti b'nishmasi melachai v'kayam. We say Rabba emunasecha, how great it is, your trustworthiness. You always stick with me, God. Every morning I wake up, there's another opportunity. No matter how bad it is, today is an opportunity for me to try to make things a little bit better. Chelki Adonai amra nafshi. Right? My portion is God. That is what my soul says. When I look inside, I realize my portion, my lot in life is truth. My lot in life is real. My lot in life is God. My lot in life is purpose. I have purpose. Al-Kain Ochilo. This is why I still have hope for him. Right? No matter how bad, no matter how dire the situation is, Yirmiyahu says, I am still going to hope. Tov Adonai lekovav. God is good to those who hope for him. Lenefesh tidrashenu, to the soul who searches him out. Mind you, here, Yirmiyahu is not saying that God is good to those who hope and all of a sudden magically, poof, everything's going to be better. Yirmiyahu never, ever lived to see anything get better. He lived, unfortunately, to see the most terrible, horrific destruction. But down to the last moment, he held on to truth. He held on to his mission of trying to lead the people back in the right direction. This is good because this gives us purpose. It allows us every morning to wake up and say that no matter how bad things are, I'm still going to do everything I can to make it better. I'm still going to do everything I can to move things forward. Tov, it is good, v'yachil, v'dumam, to wait, v'dumam, and be silent and be patient. L'truas Adonai, for God's deliverance. It takes a long time to fix major problems in the world. It is sometimes, obviously he's not saying be quiet. Yirmiyahu was far from quiet. He was making the most possible noise of everyone to try to push people in the right direction. But it also requires patience. Don't give up because I don't see the problems of the world being solved tomorrow. Oppression and poverty and unfairness ending tomorrow. No, if it doesn't happen today, if it doesn't happen tomorrow, I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep hoping for the next day. Tov la gever ki yisa ol ben urav. It is good for a person to carry this burden when he's young, to recognize even when you're young, even in the beginning of your life, don't think, oh, now is time for me to party. But even it's better even when you're young to realize and understand when you have strength, right? The situation that exists around you so that you can begin already carrying that burden of trying to make the world better. Yeshev badad, may he sit alone, even if he's sitting alone in a lonely place. Everyone else in the world, everyone's screaming and yelling and saying this, that, the other thing. And you're the only one who sees it for what it really is. Sometimes that's the case. Sometimes you're the only one that sees the terrible destruction that's coming. And nobody is listening. But still, be patient. Ki natal alav, because this is the burden that God has put upon you. You are the one who has recognized the truth. You are the one that is seeing it. Even if you're sitting alone, don't lose strength. Don't lose hope. Yitain be'afar pihu, right? Let him put his mouth in the dirt. Sometimes we have to stay quiet because speaking out might not be the right time. It might not be the right place, right? Sometimes we have to put our mouths in the dirt, so to speak, and not speak up. Ulai yesh tikva, because maybe there is hope. Maybe there is hope, right? Ulai, right? If maybe things will get better, maybe they won't, right? But on the off chance that there is hope, if you give up, then there's definitely no hope. So think about it. Maybe there is hope. Maybe things can get better. So don't ever give up. Yitain limakehu lechi. Let him give his cheek to he who strikes him. When you're trying to bring this message and people don't want to listen, sometimes you have to allow that person to smack you on the cheek. Yispa becherpa. Let him be satisfied despite the mockery that people make fun of him and don't listen to him and put him down. Why? Ki lo yiznach olam Adonai. Because God does not reject us forever. It's not going to last forever. There will be a time when things will get better. Ki im hoga, because sometimes he first makes us suffer, v'richam, but then he will have mercy, kirov chasadav, like the greatness of his kindness. Ki lo inami libo, vayage b'nei ish. Because he does not just make people suffer because he wants to make people suffer. The suffering that we're going through is for a reason. It's not because he has joy in making people have pain. And that's not why he makes people go through pain and affliction. He doesn't do that because he wants to. This is the end of the letter Chaf, which is approximately halfway through this chapter. Since there's 3 verses for each letter, it's a pretty long chapter. So this would be a good place for us to stop and then continue on in the next podcast. So we're in the middle of Lamentations, Sefer Eichah, Megillat Eichah, chapter 3. I know it's painful, but this is a little message of hope, which is another reason why I wanted to end here. A slight shine of positivity within a very difficult and painful passage. So I very much appreciate that you have joined with me to study and that you participating in this podcast. I wish everyone a wonderful, wonderful day. And remember, Chasdei Hashem ki lo samnu, the kindnesses of God are so great. They never end. May we experience them. May every one of you experience them today. Again, have a wonderful day and look forward to seeing you again in our next podcast.